The information was made public not too long ago, perhaps 2 hours ago. With the help of a $2 billion remedy, the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC, and the remedies portion of the SECV, Ripple lawsuit intend to drive Ripple out of business. Absolute and total insanity at this point. Who are the people who have suffered as a result of what Ripple has done? Would you be able to find one? Is the unicorn still around? In light of the fact that I have seen that there were 75,000 XRP, but other people, including attorneys John Deaton, have asserted that this is not the case, there was no harm done to us. The judge came to the conclusion that XRP does not qualify as a security. Nonetheless, he or she also stated that Ripple engaged in activities that were in violation of the law. And according to the Securities and Exchange Commission, you ought to be penalized for it. When it comes to the damages claim of $2 billion, Ripple does not have that much money in their possession. It was last night when I overheard Ripple publicly stating that they had $1 billion in the bank by the time Brad Garland House rolled around. You have a lot of money there. It is not sufficient for them to have that amount. What the hell is going on here, and how come this is going to utterly destroy the company? Would you say that is going to take place? What we are going to talk about is going to be that. Their perspectives have been shared with me by a co-founder of Ripple as well as several leaders at Ripple. This is utterly absurd, but I also have the view of a former attorney for the Securities and Exchange Commission regarding what is likely to occur here. However, before I proceed any further, I would like to make it plain. To my knowledge, I do not have any form of financial history. I'm not going to provide you any business advice, and regardless of what I say, you should never do anything that involves buying or selling. Alright then, to tell you the truth, I am just a novice that enjoys making videos on YouTube about cryptocurrency as a pastime and for entertaining himself. Alright then, earlier than 12 hours ago, I uploaded a video with everyone informing them that the Securities and Exchange Commission CC and Ripple were scheduled to meet today. The video was shared extremely early in the morning. With regard to this Daily Coin article, that is what you see shown on this screen. On top of that, it was to discuss the current situation regarding the remedy portion of the lawsuit. To be honest, I wasn't too excited about the prospect of seeing anything today. In order to resolve the issue, the Securities and Exchange Commission CC is required to submit a revised version of its opening brief on March 26, 2024, as can be seen on this screen. I assumed that we would be able to accomplish it by tomorrow, even though I was aware that we were capable of doing it. It is possible that they could submit anything today, but it is more probable that it will be tomorrow. I have not yet come across anything that the Securities and Exchange Commission has submitted. Perhaps that will take place the following day. However, members of Ripple's legal team and other authorities have brought up some of the things that the SEC is likely to be looking for. $200 billion? Wow, what the hell is going on here? As a result, we were certain that this would take place. It was stated by a member of the XRP community and a lawyer named James K. Fileline that the Securities and Exchange Commission CC had filed its opening remedy-related brief and supporting files under seal rather than on March 22nd. These documents are not yet available to the general public. Before the deadline of Tuesday, March 26, 2024, the public versions that have been modified will be submitted. In other words, we will be able to view it the next day. Take, for example, what Stuart Alderati has to say. The message that I just shared to you from attorney Filan was reposted by Stuart Alderati. It should come as no surprise that Stuart Alderati is the head of law at Ripple. This indicates that he is Ripple's most senior in-house attorney. When the brief is made public tomorrow, he also stated that you will be able to see that the Securities and Exchange Commission petitions the judge for fines and penalties $2 billion. On behalf of everyone, I sincerely do not believe that this will be successful for $2 billion. My opinion is that it is completely insane. It is highly unlikely that the judge would agree with that. On the other hand, if that were the punishment, how could Ripple ever exist? I have no idea how they managed to pull that off. With regard to the significant aspects of the case, such as what the law says about XRP, the SEC was unsuccessful in their attempt to win the case. They continue to have the objective of destroying Ripple. These individuals are among the most despicable persons in the entire planet. The Alderati continues, next month we will submit our response to the question. However, as we have all witnessed on numerous occasions, this is a regulator who makes assertions that are not just untrue but also intentionally misleading and designed to cause confusion. They did this as is their custom. The SEC continues to be uninterested in adhering to the regulations. Ripple and the industry as a whole are the targets of their punishment and fear rather than Ripple itself. To a certain extent, that is accurate. Because of this, I started a letter to Stuart Alderati immediately before I started working on this movie. Moreover, I informed them that this was completely inappropriate. However, Ripple did not cause any harm to anyone, in contrast to the SEC. As a consequence of this, the Securities and Exchange Commission ought to be required to pay a fine of $2 billion. To be honest, I'm not particularly interested in that because it's money that belongs to the public, but you get the point. Brad Garland, who was first submitted by Stuart Alderati, has reposted this discussion. The following is what he said: the Securities and Exchange Commission SE under Gensler has repeatedly violated the law, and judges have repeatedly warned the agency that it is abusing the authority that Congress has granted it. The debt box is an example of this situation. That is in fact a quotation. The power that Congress granted to it is being grossly abused in this manner. It was said by a judge that way, and that is the way things are. The Securities and Exchange Commission CC is a government agency, and a judge has stated that. Indeed, such is the case. In the following sentence, he continues by stating that he is responsible for his actions because he did not demonstrate genuine obedience to the law. The situation is exactly the same with Ripple, of course. Additionally, let us not overlook the fact that Gensler did not devote any attention to the SB fraud. Yes, and this is the reason why Gensler was allowed to pursue Ripple and Kim Kardashian for the sponsored advertisement for a coin that contains the S word. While she was aware that it was a sponsored advertisement, she continued to sue her for 7 figures. You are free to pursue it, but you would not have been able to determine that it was a con perpetrated by the son of a scumbag who consumed tomatoes. I'm sorry, Gensler, but you were unable to locate. On the other hand, all of this has taken place. Feelings are harmed from it. In a case in which there were no allegations of fraud or recklessness, Brad then reveals that the Securities and Exchange Commission CC is going to ask the judge for $2 billion. In this particular manner, it has never occurred before. After we have responded to this, we will proceed to demonstrate to the SEC that they are what they are. Garlinghouse was displayed in a flawless manner. When I wrote him a letter, I told him that it was impolite for the Securities and Exchange Commission to get involved in the situation when no one was affected. As early as December 2020, the Securities and Exchange Commission stated in their legal case that they were due around $1.2 billion. To tell you the truth, I didn't verify that initial lawsuit from December 2020 again, but it seems to be about right anyhow. I believe the number was 1.2 billion, 1.3 billion is a possible number. In light of the fact that their primary argument regarding the legitimacy of XRP was revealed to be falsified, how did that sum grow from 0 to 2 billion? They are almost twice as much. Due to unforeseen circumstances, we were unable to reach the destination that we had planned to visit. I believe that arriving at a total of 5 would be the most appropriate number for us to finally settle on. In the end, there is nothing but blah, blah, and blah. There is no point in continuing. It is possible to describe us as a group of jerks, which is one example. In a nutshell, this brings an end to the discord that had been transpiring. It is safe to conclude that every single member of this gang is nothing more than a bunch of jerks. This is a fact that cannot be denied. In reaction to the assertions that Brad Garlinghouse had made, Chris Larson, who was one of the individuals who contributed to the development of Ripple, published the following on X in order to convey his thoughts to those who are in charge of the Securities and Exchange Commission, including Gensler, have utterly lost their minds. Considering that the Securities and Exchange Commission CC operates under the assumption that it is above the law, this is not something that will be disregarded during an election year and actually ought not to be ignored. Taking this into consideration is something that must not be ignored. It is inevitable that the United States of America will fall even further behind the other countries that are members of the G20 as a result of this. It is without a doubt the situation. The conclusion that the Securities and Exchange Commission CC has been unsuccessful in the majority of its arguments in the Ripple case has been reached, as stated in the book Crypto Law, written by Stuart Alrighty and John Deaton. The CC's arguments were provided, and then this conclusion was made after they were presented. There was only one factor that contributed to their success, and that was the fact that they did not register investment contracts with a particular group of institutional investors. This was the sole factor that contributed to their success. Only this one thing was responsible for their achievement, and it was a significant one. As a consequence of this, it will be necessary to find solutions that are successful to a success rate that is lower than 300%. With regard to the health and safety of the passengers, there is now no need to be concerned about their well-being. If you want to make up for the fact that you did not come out on top, you need to devise a strategy that will allow you to do so. In point of fact, you are completely within your rights to say so. The attorneys who work for the Securities and Exchange Commission are not only considered to be jerks, but they are also thought to be children of Satan. This is because of the way others perceive them. When it comes to the solutions aspect of this issue, there is no valid rationale to push for a price of $2 billion penalties or whatever you want to call it. There is no justification for doing so. The actions in question are completely devoid of any explanation. The conclusion that may be drawn from this is that there is no justification that can be regarded as respectable.